What's up, everybody? We are back with another Movies That Make You podcast, and this is going to be a fun one. We had started out kind of talking about just doing a episode on Mad Max Fury Road, but then due to the fact that it's just not necessarily Kristen's cup of tea, I thought it would be fun to let her talk about some of the other Anya Taylor-Joy films that she likes, and then turns out, she actually kind of liked it. So that's kind of fun. But we felt like it would be give us a lot more to talk about if we talked through some of the Anya Taylor-Joy films that really that Kristen and I like, gearing up for this new Furiosa movie. So lots of fun discussion happens, and hope you enjoy. Before we get to the podcast, I want to remind you we are on Apple Podcasts, we are on Spotify Podcasts, we are on YouTube. We'd love for you to share us with your friends and family. Especially those that have kids. I know this episode isn't geared for kids, but a lot of our episodes are geared to discussing movies with our children and kind of how they relate to the movies, so that the movie isn't just about entertainment, but it's about learning, a certain thing about life and how to interact with people. So we hope that you'll share the podcast. And also you can follow us on Instagram at Movies That Make You, which is we post throughout the week, kind of different items around the movie that we talked about on Monday. But you can also check out our lists, all the movies that make you laugh, the movies that make you cry, the movies that make you scream. All the lists are on Letterboxd at I Am Sprang. And so if you want to get to know us more there and maybe check up on things, on movies you haven't seen before, check out those lists there. So without further ado, let's get to the podcast. All right, we are back, and we are ready for another episode of the Movies That Make You. And I'm excited to welcome our special guest again back, my wife, Kristen.
Let's go!
We have been spending a whole lot of time in the movies for the kids and gearing up for all these movies. And so we've been doing a lot with the kids, but this episode is going to be just you and me.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be talking about Anya Taylor-Joy movies because she's got Furiosa coming out, and a part of that we're also going to spend some time talking about Mad Max. We just watched that, Mad Max Fury Road, so we'll spend some time talking about that as well as we gear up for Furiosa, which is coming out this week.
Yay.
As you're listening to the podcast. So fun times. So hey, how's life going for you?
Life's going good. Just busy with work, kids.
Been working out, gymnastics.
Yes,
all that stuff.
NCAA championships. Our team didn't make it. OU had a rough meet, but they did great the whole season. So
yeah,
it doesn't discount how hard they worked, and
right.
They broke records, and we're just proud of what they did.
Yeah, LSU walked away with the championship. Worked really hard to get it, and
first time in their history.
Yeah, first time. I think the coach had always been touted as one of the best coaches to never win a championship, so he's got that off his shoulder now. So yeah. Excited for them. Haley Bryant,
Aaliyah Finnegan,
yeah, some really really cool kids. To see them pull away with the win was pretty cool.
Yeah. So how's life for you?
It's okay. Work is crazy. Work's busy. I'm also part of another social media channel that takes a lot of my free time, editing the Props or Not videos. So check it out. Props or Not on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all the things. Jeff usually reviews the restaurants, and then I do movies and theaters. I've done a couple theaters that we like to go to, and so I'm planning to do more movies. I just haven't had a chance to. I haven't made the time to do it, but
all your free time.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I want to kind of do movies because it kind of pairs well with the podcast too. So it'd be kind of like cross pollination. So I'm already doing movie reviews, so why not do a quick video for Props or Not too? That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
But been having a lot of fun with the movies with the boys. Podcast I feel is going really well. So
they're enjoying it.
Yeah, it's fun to see them kind of get into it. The episode for today, Anya Taylor-Joy, Anya. I just heard it pronounced Anya at the Oscars, so we'll go with that one. Anya Taylor-Joy. And I know when we first met, I think I know the movie that you were fascinated by her about, and you talked about her and liked her as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
What movie was that?
Split.
I
saw that on an airplane on the way back from Europe. and it was not my typical movie that I watch because it was kind of a scary movie, and but I just really loved it because of the personality disorder that the main character was going through, and just how she handled it and how she was able to not necessarily manipulate, but be able to survive with this gentleman. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought that she was a really good actress, and that was in 2016.
Yeah. So that you literally watched that on the way plane back, started your new job,
Yeah,
and then I met you the next week because I was on vacation your first week at the job. But that's when we met.
in 2017 is when I
Oh,
watched the
okay.
movie. The movie came out in
Yeah,
2016.
yeah. You saw it on the plane.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that was right around the time we
yeah,
met. So that's why it was so prevalent on your mind,
yep.
for sure. And a little bit of spoiler warning for Split. Split is, I really enjoyed the movie too. For those of us that had watched M. Night Shyamalan movies before, this is kind of part of his comeback. So like, he did a bunch of movies, did Signs, The Village, like Unbreakable, these
Mm-hmm.
movies that were somewhat popular. Kind of, we talked about it in the previous podcast with the boys when we talked about The Visit. His first batch of movies kind of dwindled in quality, dwindled in the viewership, and he kind of stopped being able to get the funding to do the big blockbuster movies. He comes back and does The Visit
Mm-hmm.
with Blumhouse, which is a low budget horror company. They do a lot of low budget films. They do put out so many movies a year for a low budget, and it can make its money back. It's a little bit more guaranteed, kind of making your money back, kind of thing. So when M. Night Shyamalan, I think his next one after The Visit possibly was Split.
Mm-hmm.
But what you didn't know, well, you definitely didn't know, and what nobody knew until the end post-credit scene was that it was actually a sequel to Unbreakable with
Yes.
Bruce Willis. And so at the very end of the film, there's this. They're talking about the rescuing of the girls from the guy that kidnapped them or something, and that's on the news. And then it shows it shows the guy sitting at the end of the like a cafe, kind of a mom and pop shop, 50s style diner, sitting at the end of the bar where he's drinking his coffee, and it's Bruce Willis, and
Yeah.
it's kind of like that's when everybody realizes, oh my gosh, this is the and and in Unbreakable, Samuel L. Jackson's character talked about this other character, I think, called the Beast,
Yes.
that was going to kind of take down the superhero. Anyway, it's kind of like M. Night Shyamalan's take on a superhero trilogy. And so then they came out with the third one, which is Glass, which is Samuel L. Jackson's character as the main kind of the mastermind villain, whereas Bruce Willis was the hero. So Unbreakable was his introduction to just having the superpowers and everything. And so if you haven't seen those films, if you're listening, you haven't seen those films, definitely recommend watching them.
They're really good.
They're really, really good. And so that's Anya Taylor-Joy. Saw her in that. I really liked her in that as well. Were there any others that jumped out at you? I think let me say this while you're looking that up. I think one of the first movies that we saw together was one that she was in called Thoroughbreds,
Yes.
and it was about the girls that are rich and they're popular and they're raised to be these kind of powerhouses, and but it's these two high school girls, and she's one of them and it's another girl, and then it's kind of the it's kind of a little bit more artsy, not like Mean Girls. It's more kind of heady in its delivery and stuff like that. But yeah, so that was one that we saw. What year did that one come out?
That was 2017.
Right. So I think that might have been one of the first movies we went to together.
We also saw The Witch.
Yep. We watched that a couple. I think the next year, maybe for part of the Halloween
Yeah.
or Oktoberfest, because it's a horror film. Who's the director of that one? Can you pull that up or no? Robert Eggers. Is that it?
Yes. Nicely done.
So he's the one that he does a little bit more artistic. He's a little bit more kind of that indie filmmaker. He's not a big blockbuster filmmaker, but The Witch I think was his first one that he came out with, and then uh, that was probably like 2014, 2015, I think, when that one came out.
The
The Witch.
2015.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, and then what was one that was in the theater when we were going to see was one he directed called The Lighthouse, and you were like, I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, you don't have to see it.
Yeah.
And then I went and saw that recently with a friend of the podcast, Wilmer, and we were both I think it was the best reaction to a film ever. He's like, "Did you like it?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "I don't know what it was about."
You came home and you're like, you definitely would not have liked it. And I was like,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah. He's definitely he's got a lot going on in his films, and I think one of the craziest things about The Witch, another Anya Taylor-Joy film that we wanted to discuss, is that it is more artsy, but it's literally just following this one family that is so religiously conservative and uh, unwavering in the way that they want to follow the scripture that they have to get kicked out of the most Puritan, the most conservative group that's ever existed, that left Europe because they were too conservative to come to America to start, the whole thing. Uh, they're so Puritan and so strict, and then this family is so
Even
pure, is so
extra.
extra that they get kicked out of their community and have to live in the woods. And then they find out that the woods that they're in is also, there's this witch that lives there, and there's a goat that is actually like
Satan.
the Satan, the devil. Um, and there's her brother, her baby brother, gets kidnapped by the witch, and it's a really really good, like eerie film, and odd and weird. She does a masterful job in that film. I mean,
Oh.
she has such a unique look, and she played such just a great character for that film.
I also really liked her in Last Night in Soho, and I like the period pieces where all the different costumes and it surprised me the story.
Hmm.
I don't know. Did you like that one as much?
Yeah, it was pretty
Okay.
good. It was pretty good.
I feel like it wasn't exactly what I thought it was going to be, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah,
So I was happy we saw that one.
yeah. It's Last Night in Soho. I can't remember the other girl's name, but she plays a character that can kind of go between times. It seems, and she's kind of definitely. I can't remember all the things, and I don't want to spoil it because it is a little less known movie. So that,
Thomasin McKenzie.
yes, yeah, that's the other girl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a good movie, and it definitely had some twists and turns in it. You didn't kind of know what was going on the whole time.
And then also The Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
Loved that show. I don't know the first thing about chess, but just watching how brilliant this character is and just her growth through the the rankings of playing chess and just how well she played this character. I mean, it was just so believable.
And you're not a binger. You don't binge
No.
watch TV. You usually are like one and done.
Mm-hmm.
Very rarely is there a show that comes on where you're just like, let's watch the next one.
Yeah.
And I think this was the first one that we ever binged. Like
Yeah.
every other show, it was like, all right, I'm good. Let's watch something funny before bed. And then this one was like,
Do we
we
have
knocked
another
it out in
hour?
like I think a weekend. We watched all of them because I think it was maybe only a 10 episode Netflix show.
Yeah.
Definitely worth a watch if you haven't watched it, because it's solid. It's really well done. She's incredible in it. It's based off a true story.
That's what I love too.
Yeah, and there's actually a second season that they've announced. Not necessarily announced a date for when it's going to come out, but they've announced that it's been greenlit, so they're going to work on a second season for her.
Yay.
So pretty cool. One of the other ones um, that we like, Anya Taylor Joy. Well, I liked it, and it was very unique. It also had Ray Fiennes in it as the chef.
Yes. The
And
menu.
the menu, yeah, that's it, not the chef, the menu. And it had Nicholas Hoult in that film also as her boyfriend that invited her to this dinner, this very exclusive, crazy dinner that's thousands of dollars per plate, and it's only a unique group of people that get in. But that's also a reference to Mad Max Fury Road, which we'll talk about in a little bit, because he played the war boy that ends up helping them.
Oh, okay.
He's the one that kind of ends up helping them at the end. So that's Nicholas Hoult. So he was in that movie, The Menu, as well. So kind of a fun crossover there. What did you like about The Menu? Did you enjoy that film?
I did enjoy it. I really like Ray Fiennes. I think he's also got a unique look and is an incredible actor. Um, I liked it because it kind of reminded me of some cooking shows that we've seen just on TV, but then it's also like with a little extra twist and then a real life situation
Mm-hmm.
that I would not want to be in.
Right. Exactly. Um,
It's not a feel good movie.
no, it's not. Uh, she plays such a brilliant character though, because so it's a class film. It's a upper class, like the people here are the rich, and this chef is sick of dealing with them, with the rich, and he basically wants to hurt them, wants to destroy them. You can catch that from the trailers, so we're not really giving anything away. And then in the trailer also you see that he recognizes her as someone who doesn't fit, and they don't know who she is. Whereas they've researched everybody else, so they know what they're there, they know what they're what they've done with their life and why he's kind of got them on the guest list, and then she's just the plus one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's super super clever the way that she escapes and the way that she is able to leave. And it was just so good. And I've seen that clip pop up on Instagram every once in a while. I think I've sent it to you at least once, because I'm just like, it's such a great scene that I'm not going to give away for those that want to watch it, but it's such a great interaction between her. She figures him out.
Mm-hmm.
She uses her brain and like detective work and figures out what drives this chef, and she knows how to twist him and make him kind of ease up and have a little grace with her. Uh, cool. I think there's a couple other films. The only other one that was in my brain that had her in it wasn't a great film, but it was New Mutants. It was a film put out by Fox before they got bought out by Disney. I think they actually finished it with Fox, and then Disney put it out after they had bought Fox. And it just wasn't a great film. She played one of the characters, but it was basically the misfits, these kind of kids that were in a mental hospital type scenario, but it's a mutant hospital but they all kind of are the misfits. And so the idea was that they were going to kind of be a new kind of, hopefully a new place to have sequels after sequels of X-Men films. And she was one of the characters there, and she kind of played a kind of a bossy, like a not bossy in a bad way, but like kind of like she's in charge, and she's kind of be like the head of this group. But it also had Macy Williams from Game of Thrones in it.
Yeah.
That's another reason why they were kind of hoping that it would take off, because she had just gotten off Game of Thrones, and it's like this could be, we could capitalize on her. But the film just wasn't all that great. So
Well, and I'm looking through the list. I think the Miniaturist is a TV show, and that actually looks pretty good. It's a drama. Also, kind of looks like a time period piece.
okay,
I'll have to check that out.
yeah. Anything else about any of the other movies stand out from her catalog?
I remember we watched uh, Emma. Yeah, Emma, and I was bored in that movie.
Yeah, it was a different take on the the Emma character. So it's um, classic book by, who's the author?
I don't know.
She does all of those Sense and Sensibility and those books, right? Isn't it the same author?
Probably. Yeah, I'll have to check.
But there was a '90s version that came out with Gwyneth Paltrow playing Emma, and that was a lot more lighthearted. That was more like My Best Friend's Wedding type of style and feel, whereas this one was a little bit more artsy, artistic in its feel, and a lot more dry, more British, I think, probably in its feel. That it didn't really resonate with you on that.
Jane Austen.
Jane Austen, yeah, that's it. Um, so it's a classic book by Jane Austen, and but it was kind of a different take on the character and on the story.
Yeah.
I liked her in it, in that I like her performances. She does a really good job. She always has a unique take. But yeah, the movie was a little bit dry. It was a little bit, wasn't as like fun and silly. Like,
I remember it was pretty, but that was about it.
yeah, cool.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of goes through all of the Anya Taylor-Joy films that we wanted to discuss. So let's jump into Mad Max Fury Road.
Okay.
So just a little background from me. I haven't seen any other Mad Max films. I knew that Mel Gibson was the character, was Max from the 90s, 80s, 90s. I had known going in to see Mad Max Fury Road the first time. I'd known of those movies, but I hadn't watched them. I knew that I found out that there was an original Mad Max film that only came out in Australia, and then the first one to come out in America was Mad Max Road Warrior. Even though it was Mad Max 2, it was kind of the one that people gravitated towards, and that's the one. And I haven't seen them, but by the term Road Warrior, it's like the introduction of the cars in this
Mm-hmm.
post-apocalyptic. Like there's a lot of cars, there's a lot of riding, a lot of driving, a lot of car violence, car action, and I'm assuming that's from Road Warrior as well.
Mm-hmm.
So then going in to see this one, the interesting thing is, while I hadn't seen these films at all, I knew the style, and that is that kind of desert, worn out, um, post-apocalyptic war or world where everybody's wearing like variations of armor that they've concocted from the ages past and gathered it, and then all the cars are like pieced together and piecemealed from other cars, and there's they're using all these types of weaponry and armory that you'd find in a world where production of items is no longer there. It's just you use what you got, and you make shift.
Make it work.
Yeah, you make it work. So I kind of knew, even though I hadn't seen it in the films, I knew of that. So that I bring that up because when we talked about the film, you kind of had that. I mentioned that to you, and you kind of recognized, oh, I kind of understand that, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yes, and I think with the post-apocalyptic, it was kind of it was easier to follow. I wasn't as lost as I thought I was going to be, just because I don't know these stories, and so
Right.
it's new and different characters and gangs. But thank you for pausing and helping me
Little bit,
understand, just to
yeah.
make sure. But what I thought was really cool is the steampunk kind of attire,
Mm-hmm.
and then which I find really fascinating. Not that I would ever wear it, but I just think it's maybe for Halloween that would be fun. Just kind of fun. And then the cars were the coolest thing ever. I loved how they just transformed, and they like added and built and
Mm-hmm.
created these super cool cars. I want to show Connor. I think
Yeah.
he'd really enjoy it.
For sure.
But yeah, it was a good movie.
One other thing I want to mention before we kind of jump into the story was we watched a show called Community with I can't remember all their names, but has Childish Gambino in it, has Alison Brie, had Gillian Anderson. I'm blanking on the main actor's name, but it was all these kind of misfit people that are going to a community college, and they end up working like doing a study group together that ends up being, silly and ludicrous and crazy the whole like 5 or 6 seasons. They even made a joke about that in one of the characters always kind of lives in, he knows he's in a sitcom, so it's kind of a funny like meta joke that this kind of continues through the whole thing. And he said in one of the episodes, 6 seasons in a movie. They've done 6 seasons, and they're talking that there's going to be a movie. So it's kind of like this kind of funny, like they're basically playing into it. The reason that's relevant is that they had an episode where it was, and they did this a couple times, where they would kind of create these worlds. One of them kind of felt like a Bad Boy. It was a paintball episode, and it felt like it was Bad Boys action film. And then they did this other one that was the floor is lava, and the whole campus was, so they ended up forming factions, and they ended up doing all of these things that was pretty much Mad Max in like a college campus. And it was just ridiculous and silly, and they formed factions, and some were hiding out in the cafeteria, and some were hiding out in the the gymnasium and all this stuff. So that was kind of another introduction to that idea of this kind of post-apocalyptic world. So for Mad Max Fury Road, you said you like, I purposely didn't ask you anything after we watched it because I wanted to save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
So this is my introduction to Mad Max also. I had never, like I said, I've never seen anything, but I thought the film, when I saw it the first time, I was just blown away by the fact that all of the practical stunts that they did for the film, you see it, and it's just, you see the difference, I guess is what I mean. You see the difference. It was actually up for Best Picture It was up. I think it may have won for one of the awards, but I have to look that up. But overall thoughts you about Mad Max Fury Road?
Overall thoughts, I thought it was a really good movie. It was very unique and with how it looked for sure, but even the story and just how the bad guy, he had all these wives and was trying to repopulate, I guess would be why. I don't know why. But anyways, then they had like this like milking room where all the women would just nurse the babies or like it, I mean, apparently like the milk was supposed to help you get strong. I'm not sure. But just how the characters kind of turned where Mad Max and Furiosa initially didn't get well, they didn't know they didn't if they could trust each other. So it was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like, I don't know. But then they started to work together, and even one of the, I don't know what they're called,
War Boys.
war boys, joined their rise,
Yeah.
their defense. So,
Yeah.
but I thought it was good.
Yeah. Um, the world is definitely uh, a unique vision, and it's one of a kind. Like he created that idea and that world with his first few movies, and seeing it, you know, 20, 25 years later after the initial Mad Max movies, to see like what he could do. George Miller as a director, to see him be able to take that vision that he had back in the 80s and do it with modern technology, modern effects, modern stunts, modern, all of that stuff was just, it was just beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it a couple times, just like the shots, the frames of the film where it's just showing Max, or it's showing Furiosa, or it's showing them driving through the storm, and it's just like visually, it's just another level.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of really good visuals, but seeing it again this time just like reminded me of like there's not really anything like this else out there, and it's just such a unique voice. One of the other things I did want to mention too, that kind of was a part of the discussion when this movie came out. A lot of times when you're dealing with movies and characters, um, we've talked about a little bit about it. You have to explain kind of what's going on in order for the audience to connect to the characters. You kind of have to, you have to tell some character has to say something to know the motivation of a character
Yes.
in the film to connect to them. And one of the unique things about this film is there's not a whole lot of talking at the front end, and you're kind of getting this idea along the way, but it's the action. It's, something's going on because of a decision a character makes, not because something that a character says.
Mm-hmm.
So like at the beginning of the film, you're hearing, okay, Furiosa is his great champion. She's going to go and they're going to go get gasoline so they can do all this stuff. And that character, the bad guy, the main Immortan Joe, is basically capitalized on the failure of the world and has set himself up to be the one that has all of the power. So he has water, he has milk, he has greenery, he has food. Mm-hmm. He's in control of it all. Somehow he was able to put himself in power to the point that now he uses a religion to basically control the people. He gives them water because he's so gracious, when in all actuality he's just hoarding it for himself. And it's this really kind of bad dictator type mentality that you'd see, that you're kind of experiencing, and it's just a different world because it's just weird. But he basically takes all the beautiful women and he says they're mine, and then he has all these other women that are just basically hooked up to breast pumps, mm-hmm. and just pumping milk, and then he's giving them to his strong men, and the war boys are like basically just, they've been given this this fantasy that, hey, you're just here to die. You're just here to die for Dad, Immortan Joe. You're just here. That's the only reason you exist. And if you die in battle, you get to go to Valhalla, and you get all these, and your chrome. It's like kind of your bright white. Mm-hmm. Like all this mud and this dirt. You leave this all behind, and you're bright white in the afterlife in Valhalla. You're made chrome. And so before they commit suicide, for the task of taking down somebody, they spray their mouth with chrome as kind of this like entry point, or this that's where I'm going. It's just this, and all of that's told to us, but nobody sits down and says, okay, here's what's going on. It's like the actions that they're taking, you kind of have to piece a little bit of it together. But the one piece that I think is so interesting in all of that is, Furiosa has something that she's got to do. She's driving on the road. She turns off the road. She didn't say why. She didn't tell us why.
She
but
just
we
went
know
east.
as a character, she's like, I have to go do something. And then you start to piece together that she's getting all these, she's trying to rescue these girls, take them to the promised land, the green place, and all that stuff. But it's just, the whole time they're just racing to get to this place. And that is one of the hardest parts about movies, is to know what the motivation, how to tell the motivation of a character without words.
Mm-hmm.
And basically a race or a car journey is the best place. You don't really have to know anything. You just know, all right, well, they're driving, they got to go somewhere, they're going somewhere for some reason, but it's like, I have to get there, and that's all you kind of need as the audience. But
In some cool cars.
and some crazy cool cars.
Yeah.
And the motorcycles, and the pipes, the bombs they used, the pipes that they threw that had bombs on the end.
Even the ones that have kind of like a pole, and they swing left and right, and they can like pick people up from other vehicles. And I was like, oh, that's cool.
Well, in that, I just noticed that watching it too, like this time, like the counterweight was an old engine. So it's an engine that would be in that world, right? It's like,
Yeah.
that's the thing about all of this, is that everything is just, it's piecemealed together from things that would be cast aside, and they just
Like a junkyard.
Yeah, a junkyard, and they made it into something that was functional. And the fact that they did that 100% with real stunt people, and it's just bonkers. But yeah, I saw it, the counterweight was an old engine, and then it's swinging back and forth. Man, just, yeah. So, did you have a favorite vehicle from the film? Anyone that jumped out?
Yeah, I don't know what brand it was, but it was one of the cars where it was like a 40s or 50s car, and it was like a car and a half, where they took the cab or the top half of the other one and put it on top. So
Mm-hmm.
I also like the tires on the gas tanker.
Yeah, yeah, the war machine, or the war tank. I can't remember what it. Yeah, it was basically the main vehicle Furiosa was driving. Yeah,
So
really massive
shards.
shards, and then they built like metal things in the hubcaps to make it easier to grip the mud or grip the dirt to get out of tight spaces. I mean, it's just super functional,
Mm-hmm.
but also looked really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the. It wasn't very functional, but the one vehicle that they, so what they're driving from the Citadel, and they start to Gas City, and then Furiosa goes east and basically says we're going a different way. Um, but the first group that ends up coming after them was like a dune buggy made of spikes. I think that, for me, that was the one I was like, oh my goodness, what is?
Yes, that was cool.
It was just like a porcupine car is what it looked like, and it was just is 100% meant to destroy whatever car you're driving into, and just, it was really cool. And then of all the other characters, I mean, they ended up crossing paths with a couple of other like gang type, a couple other sections, and then Immortan Joe is basically still seen as their leader.
Yep.
And they kind of come alongside. I like the one car that was it was like the tank bottom, but like a 50s car on top. Is that the one you're talking about?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just super unique. But yeah, I mean, there's one of the other cool moments for me was they're trying to rescue these girls, and Immortan Joe is about to shoot Max, and his prize wife that is currently pregnant, almost about to have the baby, grabs the door, opens the door all the way up, and she stands hanging out of this vehicle going 70 miles an hour, and she's just staying there. All the other ladies are grabbing her, but she's like putting herself in the way so that Mad Max can't get shot. Just a really cool visually, and just like
she knew
one, yeah.
that she was like, I know he's not going to shoot him because he won't hurt me.
Yeah. And I think one of the other cool things about that is that about these wives is that you'd think that they would be, maybe in other films they may have been portrayed as more weak because they've been stuck inside and they've just been following what this guy said to do. But obviously they've been like waiting for this day, and they've been training for this moment.
Yes.
And Furiosa has somehow helped them see, like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna go, and I'm gonna take you, and we're gonna be fine. We're gonna be able to get away from Immortan Joe. We're gonna be able to live again because they're strong and they know how to handle weapons. They know, like, these ladies are not just princesses, damsels in distress. They are 100% powerful women that know how to handle themselves and know how to protect themselves, and they're not scared of anything.
Even there was the one character, one of the wives, that she was scared because things weren't working out, and she thought, I might as well just go back. And I think it's because she knew she would be safe if she went back. But I was glad that the other girls were able to stop her and continue on.
What's coming to mind in that moment is, there's definitely this very religious, or like epic religious biblical type narrative that's going on. It's these women are slaves and they're trying to get to the promised land. Like Moses taking the Israelites out of Egypt and going to Israel. It's that level of epicness. And there is that moment in the story where the Israelites they're in the desert and they don't know how they're going to get to where they need to go. And they just say, well, we might as well just go back to Egypt because at least there we had food on our plates, and at least there, and Moses and Aaron, and it's like, but you were slaves.
Right.
Like no, we can't go back. Freedom, no matter how difficult it is, freedom's better than slavery. And that also brings to mind this idea that you find in a movie like The Matrix, where they're given this choice where you can know the truth or you can live in Fantasyland. And when they know the truth, it's not what they wanted. It's not happy. The truth is hard sometimes. But what the followers that Morpheus helped escape, most of them recognize, no, the truth is better. But then there's the one character, Cypher, who says, man, ignorance is bliss. I'd rather be locked in the Matrix and pretending or imagining that I'm eating steak every night, because whether it's real or not, I don't care. I'm tired of being in this reality. I'm tired of being in this dark place. And so I think that there's something to glean from that in this movie, in that it doesn't matter like what truth is. Truth is hard. Life is hard. It's difficult. But it's better to live in freedom than it is to be slaves. And that's not just from a physical slavery, but even from a spiritual or philosophical slavery. It's better to know the truth. It's better to strive for the truth, no matter how hard that struggle is, than it is to continue to just like live in your own fantasy world, like everyone else is to blame and life is so hard. Like,
own it.
Own your life. And I think you and I have gone through that. We've gone through tough things in our life where we've had to dig deep and counseling and therapy and figure out what's going on, what's caused me to live this way, and that my life would fall apart. And now I feel like we're at a place where we're old enough and we've been through enough and we've done that hard work to know, like, it's better to know it's better to know the truth. It's better to get down to the nitty gritty of what makes us who we are, so that we can live into that
and be honest with ourselves and honest with everybody else too. It definitely it takes work and it takes effort, and I feel like you feel better though. It's like a more pure form of life. I think
for sure. And I think that's what's powerful about this movie. While it's a post-apocalyptic world that doesn't exist, it also is commenting on, well, what's the cost of freedom? Is it too much? Because if freedom is really that valuable, then we should try to do everything we can to find it, and do whatever it takes, and travel to whatever lengths it takes to get there, because that's better than this hell that I'm living in right now. And that's what these ladies, and I think that one moment of frustration, or that one moment, we all go through those moments. Like, I wish I could just go back. but there's no going back. No matter where you are, it's only forward. That's the only thing we can do is no matter what bad happened, we have to just keep moving forward.
And I
And
think to me, it's kind of one of those every day you just try to live your best. That's it. I mean, it sounds simple. It's not simple, but it is the best way to do it because I mean, you can even if you wake up and you have a bad day or you know, things aren't going right and it's just oh, you know, why is the world against me? It's you just stop, refocus and try to make it better.
yeah,
You know?
hmm for sure.
And I think it helps when you got a good person to talk to.
Yeah, definitely.
Even when you're married to them, that helps a lot.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, I'm glad you liked the movie.
Yeah, I did too. And
I was nervous. I was nervous because it's definitely out of your wheelhouse.
yeah, and I think it did help that I like Charlize Theron and um, with Anya being in this next movie and the next one being an origin story.
Hmm
That's also what I really enjoy. So
Yeah, it was cool, like watching this one and kind of them laying the groundwork for what I think we're going to see.
mhm,
She talks about it, about her where she came from. She talks about the green place. She talks about being taken from them. And then there's also this feeling that you get from watching her in this film that she's trying to make up for something. She even
mhm.
says that to Max at one point, like, I have to find redemption.
So we don't know what she did, but
Man, yeah, no, we don't know, but it's obviously something bad. I mean, if the Morton Joe, who's just, you see it across the board, he's just straight evil and straight manipulating the world to bend to his will and whatever he wants. And the fact that she is his number one,
mhm.
that he trusts her over anybody else to take this group. And when she gives, hey, we got to go this way, nobody questions
They
it.
just said, okay.
Okay, boss said, hey, new orders, let's go. And it's just like to elevate to that level of trust in Morton Joe's family and his whole organization. She probably had to do a lot of bad stuff,
Yeah.
you know. And then in Fury Road, she's trying to. I have to do something to make it better. I have to do something to find redemption. And Max leads her to, well, we can't just run away and find redemption somewhere else. We need to go. We can go back and we can get not just
Hit it head
redemption
on.
for us, but redemption for all.
Mhm.
And that was just a cool moment, you know, for the characters, for the story and everything, for them to go back to the
Mhm.
Citadel, and you don't know what's going to happen, but you assume that she's going to lead this group and she's going to make it right and she's going to take care of people and they're going to thrive because of her leadership, because she's gone through all of this, and the people trust her
Mhm.
and she's a good person and all those things. And with the wives there, like they're going to lead as a group, you know, to try and make the world a better place.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so with the new movie being a origin story, it's definitely going to be fun. I'm glad we rewatched it because I definitely enjoyed the film, and just kind of like I said, getting some of those tidbits of like information of like what we'll probably see in the new movie, just to kind of have a framework for what we're, because I've seen the trailers, but
Mhm.
it's just kind of like I don't understand, I don't remember this part, or no, I kind of remember. So
Yeah.
cool.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the discussion that Kristen and I had, and yeah, go watch the new movie. Looks fun.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
See you. Thanks so much for listening to the podcast. We hope you enjoyed that conversation, and we hope that you're going to go see Furiosa this weekend with Anya Taylor-Joy. It looks to be a lot of fun, and critics are saying that it is a lot of fun, and it's epic and all the things. So hope you'll go check that out. Want to let you know the upcoming stuff that we have going on is that next week we're going to be talking about Speed 2 and Titanic. One epic film, one crappy film, both of them having ships that crash, and that's because we're going to be going on a cruise, and we thought it would be a fun conversation to have next weekend. So you can check us out next Monday with that episode. The week following that, we're going to be talking about Will Smith movies in preparation for Bad Boys 4 that's going to be released. And then the episode after that, kids will be back for Inside Out episode, gearing up for Inside Out 2. It's a couple of our kids' favorite movie, or at least in their top 5. So that's going to be a great conversation. And then the weekend following that is going to be Father's Day. So just like last week when we did Mother's Day, we did Mom's Top 5. We're going to do Dad's Top 5. And so I'll be sharing with the kids what my top 5 movies and getting their reactions to that. So we hope that you'll join us. Again, keep up with us on Instagram, keep up with us on Letterboxd, and share our podcast wherever podcasts are with friends and family. We'd love to have you listen. So until next time, keep watching movies.